Bill Belichick, really?
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome into College Football, Smothered and Covered. My name is Barrett Sallee. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. You can follow me on all of the social media platforms at Barrett Sallee. 2 R's, 2 T's, 2 L's, and 2 E's. We do have a big show. There is a surprise announcement coming up at the end of the show, and coaches and players all over the country have Tell the Truth Tuesday. So we will have Tell the Truth Tuesday right here on College Football, Smothered and Covered. Update on Carson Beck, and of course, everything on this beautiful Tuesday revolves around Bill Belichick. And we heard last week, and I think this was North Carolina, floated up this trial balloon to see if Bill Belichick would be interested or how the public would react to the idea of the former New England Patriots coach taking over for Mac Brown. Guys, this is a terrible idea. And we're going to go through several reasons why this is a terrible idea during this show. But let's start us off with this quote from the Pat McAfee show. He was on there yesterday. He was asked about his interest, and he said that there have been talks. And this was the quote that jumped out to me. And this is from ESPN. Obviously, Pat McAfee is an ESPN employee. It says, if I was in a college program, the college program would be a pipeline to the NFL for the players that had the ability to play in the NFL. It would be a professional program, training, nutrition, scheme, coaching techniques that would transfer to the NFL. So Wednesday, we get this from Ollie Connolly, who is a veteran writer, podcaster in our world. And for those who do not see this on YouTube and who are audio only, we will read this. Now, Ollie had reported earlier, this is 3 days ago, that the negotiations would include a guarantee that Stephen Belichick would be named the coach in waiting. Today, Tuesday, Ollie comes back with this update. Bill Belichick has agreed to become the next UNC coach. Belichick handed the school a 400-page organizational Bible with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, etc. Decisions on whether to commit with UNC. He is expected to know their decision within 24 hours. So basically, Bill Belichick wants this to be a diet version of the NFL. Where have we heard that before? Oh, yeah, Herm Edwards at Arizona State. How'd that go? Probation? Show causes? That's how it went. What Bill Belichick does not realize is that it already exists. The nutrition, the facilities, everything, the training, it's already at NFL level. Players just have other obligations, like class. Now, in the fall, you take the minimum. That's just how things are. But this shows a lack of comprehension of what college football is. It's already a diet version. It's already a minor league system. You go look at some of these palaces, and I've toured a bunch of them. They're actually better than NFL facilities. They actually have more options, more luxuries, better training facilities, better nutrition programs than NFL facilities. That's true. It's not, I'm not just blowing smoke. This is true. And Bill Belichick, in this 400-page organizational Bible, thinks that he's going to have some sort of massive impact on how things work in college athletics. It is ignorance at its finest. Ignorance at its finest. If you're North Carolina, why would you go along with this? Would it be just the name, Bill Belichick? Because I'm not going to hire anybody that says, you know what, my son needs to be the coach in waiting. No. No nepotism here. Not happening. Because what has Stephen Belichick done? I mean, is he suddenly going to realize how to coach in college and have some sort of revolutionary tactic to modernize a system that's already modern? So why would North Carolina do that? They shouldn't. It would just be name brand recognition. Obviously, that does matter to an extent. Look at Colorado, for example, with Deion Sanders. I get it. But here's the other thing. Can you imagine Bill Belichick in the living room of a high school sophomore or junior, inviting players to a camp and recruiting 24/7, 365? Whereas when he was with the Patriots or any NFL team for that matter, all they do is coach ball. All you do is coach ball. Now, if you have the GM title, obviously you have other responsibilities, and that's fine. But that's coaching ball is, I would say, not necessarily the biggest aspect of a coach's job these days. And we've talked about this on the show. There are a lot of coaches during bowl season who don't even coach in practice. They're too busy doing things in the transfer portal. Now, having National Signing Day last week instead of 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, depending on how the calendar fell, it certainly takes some pressure off of coaches. We had Rhett Lashley on the show yesterday, and he said that. But Bill Belichick's not going to want to deal with this nonsense. There's absolutely no way that he would put up with players coming into his office and asking for money. And that is the question that they ask every single time. You know, they have these exit interviews right after each season. Every player comes into the office and they talk about the future, what the scheme's going to be, what coaching hires are going to happen, and all this other stuff. If you're Bill Belichick, having those conversations are going to be like pulling teeth. I actually talked to a coach, this is a few days ago, actually. And I asked, how does this operate? When you have these exit interviews, how do they operate now as opposed to 5 years ago? And he said, going through these exit interviews, you kind of start with players who are going to be easy conversations, and you don't have to worry about an awful lot. And he tells me, he goes, you don't even understand. Even the ones who shouldn't be high maintenance are now high maintenance. And I had a long snapper come in. First things he says was, I want $100 grand. $100 grand for a long snapper. No offense to long snappers. Very important people. Probably the least respected position in terms of overall importance by the public. You don't have a long snapper, you don't have you have a problem, a massive problem. But 100 G's right out of the gate. And that's what they all ask about. All these players talk about money. That's the first thing that gets asked. And look, I'm not saying that's a bad, I think that's a good thing. In fact, I think it's a good thing. But Bill Belichick dealing with a question like that right out of the gate, that kid might get murdered by Bill Belichick. Like, he's not going to want to deal with all this nonsense. He's not going to want to deal with the things that players ask nowadays. This organization It just makes me chuckle with structure, payment plans, staffing choices, etc. Payment plans from a collective? Payment plans and turning revenue share? Like, there are a lot of this, the revenue sharing part that's coming, right? There are a lot of this that the coaches have no issue, like they have no control over. But it goes back to something I said earlier. Trying to make college football like the NFL won't work. It'll work on the television side, the presentation side. But if you come in thinking that suddenly, as a legendary NFL coach or as a successful NFL coach, that suddenly you're going to make everything look exactly the same. It's not. It's not from a personnel perspective, and it's not from a facilities perspective either, because they already act like that. They already treat the program like. So this to me just shows ignorance from Bill Belichick. And look, I don't know, by the time this gets posted, things might have changed. And I asked North Carolina for a comment, and they got back to me and says they don't comment on coaching searches. And that's the question that's the answer I expected. And I even titled the email line "Shot in the Dark" because I knew how it was going to get answered. But they already do these things. Coming up, we'll take a break, but we'll talk a little bit about the Heisman Trophy finalists and talk a little bit about truths you need to know. It's college football smothered and covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. Right now the NFL's going on, college football's coming on. You're going to want to make some bets, right? So go to FanDuel.com, America's #1 sports book. The best thing about FanDuel, guys, is that everything is right there. So live betting is a big deal. And when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can look at live stats, play-by-play, everything right there on the same page where you place your bets. FanDuel.com. Go to $5 bet. They'll give you $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right. You bet $5, your first $5 bet, you get $150 guaranteed if you win it. That's at FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We're also brought to you by Omaha Steaks, and I have a glass French door right here in my office, and right outside there's a big box. It's about 2 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet. It's a big cube. It was at my front door. It is full of Omaha Steaks. My dad and stepmom have been on Omaha Steaks for as long as I can remember, and that's what they do during the holiday season. They send all of us gifts, gift baskets, gift boxes from Omaha Steaks. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code college. And that's the one they actually used because I told them to do that. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience. And the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift through thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code college. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. That's OMAHA steaks.com, and an extra $30 off with promo code college. Minimum purchase does apply. All right, Heisman Trophy finalists were announced. No surprises in my mind. Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel, and Travis Hunter. There's no set number of players that are invited. We've had years where there have been 6. We've had years where there have been 5, 4, 3, right? It's all about a natural line of delineation. And finding it after these 4, not a surprise at all. Cam Ward, superstar quarterback, puts up video game numbers. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel, undefeated Oregon team, does the same. We all know about Travis Hunter and then Ashton Jeanty as well. None of these guys surprising. Like, that's exactly what I expected. Now, we only get to vote for 3 people, right? I'm not going to tell you who I voted for today because they will hunt me down. And speaking of the glass doors outside of my office, when we talked about Omaha Steaks, they probably will come through those, break those, drag me out of my house, and maybe have me jailed if I tell you who I voted for. But I'm really happy for all these guys and can't wait to share with you who I voted for on Saturday night. Injury update, Carson Beck. Tell the Truth Tuesday. We're going to start with Carson Beck. Now, we all know what it looked like. It looked terrible. We've seen reports of UCL damage, which of course is what happens for Major League Baseball pitchers who get Tommy John surgery. There are different variations that don't put you out for a year, not necessarily in baseball, but in other sports. It's what Bryce Harper had a few years ago. It's what Shohei Ohtani had, and he didn't pitch, but he hit, obviously, very well. No timetable for Carson Beck. They released a statement that he suffered the elbow injury and that he and his family are exploring treatment option, and there's no timetable for his return. Saw a lot of scuttling, scuttlebutt. Can say it as creative as we want, but that Georgia's national championship hopes are in trouble. And I'm sitting there like, what? Why? Carson Beck has been a liability this year. If you think that his absence is going to deter Georgia from winning a national championship, you haven't watched Georgia. From about late September to early November, Carson Beck was bad. Like, not just like went through a lull where he wasn't a difference maker, outright bad. And Georgia still found a way to win most of their games. Obviously, the big one at Texas is the one that stands out more than any of them. But suddenly, with him out, like their whole season is going to fall apart? No. Gunnar Stockton is a legend in my state here in Georgia. He's from Tiger, which is northeast Georgia, close to Clayton. It's actually the home of a fantastic store called Goats on the Roof, which is a novelty store with beef jerky and things like that, which also has goats on the roof. That's why it's called Goats on the Roof. And it's a perfect piece of Americana. But he's a legend. He's a legend around here. He's set records in every possible way. And he showed that he can come back and lead a team to victory in a bad situation. Georgia was getting its tail kicked in that first half. The score didn't show it, but it was getting its tail kicked in that first half. Gunnar comes in, leads him to an overtime victory. And he can run. That's the biggest thing, too, is that Georgia's rushing attack, it was pretty good against Texas. It's been mediocre to average all year long. Gunnar can run. We saw him bring that element into the game against Texas. Texas was not prepared for that. Damn near saw it win the game on the play that he got hurt. And of course, Beck came in the next play, handed it off, and game over. But if Georgia's rushing attack has struggled and Gunnar Stockton can provide a boost to make it more dynamic and diverse, that's fantastic. And if he doesn't throw interceptions, which he threw a bad one late, you can clean that up over the next couple of weeks. If he doesn't throw interceptions, he actually might be better than Carson Beck, or at least in terms of this particular Georgia team. Upside, does Gunnar Stockton have what Carson Beck has and what will wow NFL scouts? I don't know. I don't care. I care about college football. I care about what he can do for the Bulldogs, not what he can do for the Bengals or the Bears. I don't care. So for this particular Georgia team, Gunnar might be a better option. And look, I think we all saw Carson Beck's injury. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know exactly what his injury means and his recovery time will be. But I will tell you that it looked bad. It looked bad when it happened. It looked bad when he walked off. It looked bad when he walked back on and handed the ball off on the game-winning touchdown. And it looked bad on the field afterwards. but it's not going to deter Georgia from winning a national championship. If Georgia doesn't win a national championship, it'll be because of its rushing attack, not picking up the slack, not being more diverse with Gunnar Stockton. It'll be because their receivers keep dropping balls. Arian Smith. Gunnar Stockton will be fine if they use him properly. If they keep him in the pocket and don't use him as a rusher, the rushing attack might derail that run. Also on Tell the Truth Tuesday, the brackets. It's got to change. We've talked about this. Arizona State and Boise State, with the 3 and 4 spots, have opened up windows for Texas, Clemson, SMU, and Penn State to have easier paths to the national championship than better teams, including Tennessee, Ohio State, and Notre Dame, but also Oregon and Georgia, because Oregon and Georgia would have tougher matchups in the quarterfinals. And I know there's this idea, and it's true, that you can just erase the mandate that says the top 4 conference champions get buys. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The problem is everybody agreed to this system. So when negotiations continue, and they've already started, about expanding this for the 2026 season, and the SEC and Big Ten getting 4 automatic bids, the Big 12 and ACC getting 3, and then at-larges and all that other stuff behind them in a 14-team field. If you start talking about removing other conferences from getting buys or just any kind of special treatment whatsoever, they're not going to agree to it. That's just not going to happen because they want to have as equal as possible of a chance as some of the other teams, right? So what's going to happen? Well, the truth here on Tell the Truth Tuesday is that you're going to get an expedited move of the SEC and the Big Ten to separate from everybody else. And that's bad for the sport. It's good that a team like Arizona State gets in the college football playoff. It's good that ACC teams like Clemson and SMU have a chance to win. It's good that group of 5 teams like Boise State have a chance to get in. Now, in this particular setup, in my perfect world, we'd go back to 4 or 2 or whatever. But again, I've conceded the election. This is how it's going to operate. Because the alternative, the SEC and Big Ten breaking away, would be disastrous for our sport. And that's what's going to happen. So tread lightly when we're talking about removing the automatic top 4 buys for conference champions. Because when we get to the negotiating table, again, which, I mean, look, they've kind of already been there the whole time anyway, but when we look about expanding again after the 2025 season, you might not see the Big 12 and ACC and everybody else getting what they want, which would push the Big 10 and the SEC away. We don't want that. We'll take a break when we come back. Special announcement for the show. It's College Football Smothered and Covered. And of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. You know our friends at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Place a $5 bet, your first $5 bet, and you will get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed from FanDuel. Now, the great thing about FanDuel is everything's right there for you. So if you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you want to place a live bet, play-by-play stats, all there on the exact same page where you place your wagers. FanDuel.com, your first $5 bet gets you $150 bet if you win it. Guaranteed, never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. special announcement time. Special announcement time. Where is Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered going? Smothered and Covered will be headed in the first round of the college football playoff to Notre Dame. Cheer, cheer for old Notre Dame. That's right. We will be there as history unfolds. The first ever college football playoff game on campus that Friday night, next Friday night, and we'll be there covering it. Headed in Thursday. The media hotel is in Elkhart. Very cheap. Thank you, folks, at the College Football Playoff for working that deal, because other hotels in the South Bend area, not good. Not good at all. Very expensive. So we will be headed there. I got to run this business. I got to run College Football Smothered and Covered and everything that's associated with it. So we do have a budget. Luckily, it fell in within that budget. I was going to go to Austin, but I've been to Austin. I think it's going to be a fun game between Clemson and Texas. I don't necessarily know if Indiana Notre Dame is going to be that good, but it's historic. So we will be there. College Football Smothered and Covered, coming to you live from South Bend as Notre Dame hosts the first ever on-campus college football playoff game. Can't wait to do that. Of course, we'll have pregame coverage Friday morning, and then hopefully it's not snowing, because snow is only good if you can ski on it. But after the game, we will have coverage as well. And then, of course, flying back for the 3 playoff games the next day. Hey, thank you for making this your first listen. For your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin, any of the conference shows as well. Your team also well represented here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So go check them out. If you want to become an insider on this show, subtext group right below. You can sign up. I can text you. You can text me. We can have a lot of fun. Until Wednesday, have a great Tuesday. We'll talk to you soon.